You have heard about Stoicism. You have seen the quotes. Marcus Aurelius on resilience, Epictetus on control, Seneca on time. But here is the truth. What most people know about Stoicism is the surface, the tourist version, the Instagram caption version. Today I want to take you somewhere most people never reach, into the 8 hidden mechanisms inside Stoic philosophy that the deepest scholars, the most elite performers, and the rarest thinkers use to build an inner life that nothing, absolutely nothing, can break. These are not motivational ideas. These are precision instruments. Let us begin. Seneca had a morning ritual that would terrify most people. Before anything else, he would sit in silence and deliberately imagine the worst things that could happen that day. Poverty, illness, betrayal, death. Not as worry, not as fear, as preparation. He called it Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. And modern neuroscience has now confirmed what Seneca knew by pure philosophical intuition. Mentally rehearsing disaster is the most effective known method for removing disaster's power to destroy you. Researchers call it defensive pessimism. What they found is that people who imagine negative outcomes in advance perform dramatically better, suffer far less emotionally, and recover faster when things actually go wrong, because they arrive at the real event already experienced. Not a virgin to the pain, a veteran. The rare insight. Most people avoid thinking about the worst because they believe thinking about it will make it more likely or more painful. The Stoic knows the opposite is true. Terror lives only in the unexamined. The moment you look directly at the worst, it shrinks. Pre-living the catastrophe is the exact act that removes its power. Source: Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 9. When Marcus Aurelius felt rage rising, or ego swelling, or fear gripping him, he used a practice so simple, it sounds almost childish. He would close his eyes and mentally rise, above the room, above the palace, above Rome, above the empire, above the earth itself, until he was looking down at his own tiny life from somewhere near the stars. From that altitude, every insult was invisible. Every ambition was a speck of dust. Every crisis that had felt enormous was microscopic against the scale of a universe that would exist long after every human being alive had been completely forgotten. Here is what makes this extraordinary. In 1987, astronauts returning from space began reporting something they called the overview effect, a spontaneous and permanent psychological transformation triggered by seeing Earth from orbit. Reduced ego, reduced tribalism, reduced anxiety, increased compassion, increased sense of meaning. Identical to what Marcus Aurelius described through pure contemplative practice. He had no telescope. He had no spacecraft. He built the view from above entirely inside his own mind and arrived at the same liberation, the rare insight. Distance is not geography. It is a choice of perception. You do not need to leave the atmosphere to access the overview effect. You need only the willingness to look from far enough away. Source: Chrysippus, Stoic Physics. The philosopher Chrysippus, arguably the greatest systematic thinker Stoicism ever produced, developed a concept that most modern Stoicism courses never even mention. He called it Sympatheia. The idea was this: all things in the universe are woven together in a single living web of mutual cause and effect. Nothing is truly separate. Every event is connected to every other event through invisible threads stretching back before the beginning of recorded time. This was not mysticism. This was the world's first systems theory. 2,000 years before cybernetics, 2,000 years before ecology, 2,000 years before chaos theory, proved that a butterfly in one place can reshape weather patterns across the globe. The practical consequence was devastating to anger. If every person who has ever hurt you is a node in an infinite web of causes stretching back before their birth, through their parents, their wounds, their culture, their neurology, then personal blame becomes philosophically impossible. You cannot be angry at a wave for being a wave. The wave is the ocean doing what the ocean does, moved by forces that began long before the wave existed. The rare insight. Stoic anger management was never about breathing exercises or counting to 10. It was a complete cosmological reframe. Sympatheia does not excuse bad behavior. It dissolves the architecture of blame that makes anger feel justified and replaces it with something far more powerful: accurate understanding. Source: Zeno of Citium. Here is a word that has been catastrophically mistranslated for 2,000 years. The English language took the Stoic concept of Apatheia and gave us the word apathy, meaning not caring, feeling nothing, disconnecting from life. The Stoics meant the precise opposite. Apatheia meant freedom from pathos, from the violent, distorting passions that cloud judgment and hijack behavior. Not the absence of feeling, the absence of being controlled by feeling. The Stoic still loves, still grieves, still desires, still burns with purpose. But these emotions arrive as information, not as commands. Neuroscientists now call this affect regulation, the capacity to experience the full force of an emotion while maintaining the ability to choose your response. And research shows it is the single biggest predictor of psychological resilience, relationship quality, leadership effectiveness, and long-term well-being. The rare insight. The Stoic is not cold. They are the only person in the room who is fully feeling, because they are the only one who is not being swept away. Apatheia is not the death of emotion. It is the moment emotion becomes your servant rather than your master. Source: Epictetus, Discourses/Seneca. This is the single most practical and least taught technique in all of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics called it the reserve clause, hoc recuso in Latin, and it changed how they made every single plan, every single intention, every single goal. Whenever they committed to something, they added, sometimes aloud, always mentally, the phrase, fate permitting. I will be there tomorrow, fate permitting. I will complete this work, fate permitting. I will build this life, fate permitting. It sounds small. Its psychological effect was enormous. By building the possibility of failure directly into every intention, the Stoic eliminated the gap between expectation and reality that generates rage, despair, and collapse. They were not being pessimistic. They were being engineers, installing shock absorbers into their plans before the road got rough. Modern cognitive behavioral therapy has independently discovered the same technique. It is called flexible goal adjustment, the research-proven capacity to hold goals firmly while remaining emotionally unattached to specific outcomes. The Stoics had it in 2 words: fate permitting. The rare insight. Every plan made without a reserve clause is a future source of suffering. The reserve clause is not surrender. It is the difference between a person who breaks when the plan changes and a person who simply pivots, because they never confuse the goal with the specific path to it. Source: Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 4. Every serious Stoic philosopher practiced what the Greeks called Melete Thanatou, the daily meditation on death. not annually, not when facing illness, every single morning. Marcus Aurelius began private journal entries with reminders that today might be his last day alive. Epictetus instructed his students to kiss their children goodnight while whispering to themselves, "Tomorrow, this child may be gone. Tomorrow, I may be gone." This was not depression. This was the most sophisticated psychological optimization tool in the ancient world. And modern terror management theory, developed by the psychologist Jeff Greenberg, has now experimentally confirmed what the Stoics practiced by intuition. Consciously confronting mortality reduces materialism, increases authentic generosity, deepens the experience of meaning, and dramatically lowers anxiety about trivial things. When you know, truly know, not intellectually but in your bones, that you have a finite number of days, the petty grievances evaporate. The grudges dissolve. The small fears reveal themselves as the absurdities they always were. You stop postponing the conversations that matter. You stop wasting Tuesdays. The rare insight, the person who meditates on death every day is not morbid. They are the most alive person in every room they enter, because they are the only one who genuinely knows the time is now, and acts accordingly. Death, properly understood, is not the enemy of life. It is life's greatest clarifier. These 8 secrets, Premeditatio Malorum, the view from above, Sympatheia, true Apatheia, the eternal recurrence test, Kathêkon, the reserve clause, and the daily death practice, are not 8 separate ideas. They are 8 doors into the same fortress. The Stoics called it the inner citadel, a place so deeply built that no external event, no loss, no insult, no catastrophe, no betrayal, could breach its walls. Not because those events don't hurt, but because the person inside has been so thoroughly prepared, so completely reoriented toward what is real and what matters, that pain passes through them like weather, experienced fully and released completely. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius near the end of his life, "It is not that I am brave, it is that I have understood what deserves to be feared, and almost nothing does. That understanding is available to you, not through suffering, not through achievement, through practice, through the daily, patient, unglamorous work of building a mind that nothing outside can own." That is the Stoic promise. That is what it means to become undefeatable.